Hi guys, it's Andy here, back with another video for you regarding 7 Days to Die. Today's video is a little bit different. It's not a mod. What I'm going to do is explain to you how to add custom recipes and custom items to the game. Having a few comments on YouTube with people having a few problems with the files I've uploaded for a couple of my mods. So just thought rather than try and troubleshoot them all individually, because it is very difficult, with the explanations that get given to you, it's hard to know, what possibly has gone wrong. So I'm just going to run through quickly how to implement the mods that I make, and how to add your own custom recipes for stuff that's already in the game. So, the very first thing you want to do is you want to navigate your way to the config file for 7 Days to Die. Now the easiest way to do this is to simply go onto Steam, to your library, and then go to 7 Days to Die at the sidebar here. You right click to bring up the context menu and drop down to Properties. And you want to go to the Local Files tab and browse Local Files. And this will take you straight to where you have 7 Days to Die installed on your computer. It's wherever you chose to when you did the install originally, if you don't want to do this method. And the file you want is in Data. So go into Data, and it's this one here, Config. That's the only file we ever touch when doing these mods. So inside the config file, you'll see we have a number of XML files. And these are the files that I edit to generate the mods. So before we even touch these, the first thing you want to do is you want to make a backup. Now, the way I choose to do this is you can make backups inside the game files, but I personally prefer not to do this. I just like having things completely separate. So all you do is literally just copy it and paste it somewhere else on your PC. And then you've got a copy, that you can revert back to if you need to. But as a failsafe, it doesn't matter if you make mistakes at all, because you can always use a tool that Steam has called Verify the Integrity of the Game Cache. And what this does is it compares your XML files with the ones that are hosted on Steam. And if it finds any discrepancies between the two, next time you try and play the game, it'll download the files that were incorrect and overwrite the ones you have. So you never have any chance of damaging or breaking your game at all. It's very simple. You just verify the integrity, and it'll fix itself. Okay, so we've covered backups. So we want to go to our config file. Now the three main ones that you'll need to use are blocks, items, and recipes. It's up to you what program you want to use to edit these. I use Notepad++, because if you try and use just normal Notepad, show you that now, it's all very difficult to read and clump together. You could try and modify it like that, but it would just be a little bit more tricky, so I always use Notepad++. Okay, so as you can see, this is color-coded, so it makes it much easier to break down and read. Okay, so we'll go ahead and open the three files I mentioned: recipes, items, and blocks. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to show you is how to add a custom recipe or a block that is already in 7 Days to Die. So what I mean by that is if you go into cheat mode and open up the creative menu, you'll notice that there's a whole host of blocks and items in there that you can't craft. That's because they have no recipe, and this recipe is XML. But there's nothing to stop you from adding your own. So the example I'm going to show you here is for the lockers that you find them in the derelict city quite often. They have no recipe, but are in the creative menu. So the first thing you want to do is you want to find in either the items or blocks what you're trying to make the custom recipe for. So in our case, it's a block. So the easiest way to do this is just click into the file, press Ctrl F to bring up the find, and then type the name of the item, and it will find it. So we come to lockers, and this is just so we get this portion here, the name. That's the bit we need from this file. That's all we need from here. But it has to be spelled exactly right. Every capital letter has to be in the right place. So as you can see here on school desk, it starts with a lowercase s, has a capital D in the middle. Quite a lot of them are like that. So you have to make sure you get the capitalization right. So we go back to our recipes XML. And I find that the easiest way is to find something that has a recipe that's similar to it in game. So, I think, what could we use? It doesn't matter. Okay, I'll just do one from scratch just to show you. You take anything and literally just copy it. So copy the wrench there, the entire file from the start of the recipe to the very end of this portion. And we want to paste it into the bottom of the file, but not at the very bottom, because you've got to have this little section of code here, which closes the entire file. That has to remain at the bottom at all times. We just want to go down a few spaces and paste it. Okay, so we have a duplicate of the wrench there. So we go back to our blocks file and copy the block name, go back to recipes, we can paste it in over the name, and now we have a one for lockers. So as we go along the code, we've corrected the name. The next thing will come to is count. Now this simply denotes how many of the block you want to make with the materials. So for example, like with gunpowder, if you're crafting gunpowder from the potassium nitrate and the coal, it yields you more than one when you create it. So it would simply have a number like 5 or 10 here. So we want it to create one locker, which is fine. Scrap them. Most of the time you'll want to leave this as false. Reason being is if you turn it to true, it makes it act like the ammunition, where you can place it back into the crafting output window and take it apart and get your parts back. So as you can see, most of the items they all have false. It's used very rarely. Next ones are craft timer. This is simply how long in seconds it takes to craft. If you want it to craft very quickly, make it 1 second. You're going to be messing around. Next one is learn experience gain and craft experience gain. Learn experience gain is how many experience points you get for the first time crafting the block. Only the first time. And then the craft experience gain is how many experience points you get for every subsequent time that you craft the block. So in this case we'll just leave it the same because it doesn't really matter in this case. Now this is the main bulk of it, okay, the ingredients options. So let's assume that we want to make the lockers out of 6 forged irons, okay? Seems a reasonable recipe for it. It's made of metal, yeah. So we'll make sure we have 6 ingredients, so we have an extra one, so we get rid of that line of code. Now it doesn't matter if it all lines up, as long as all the code's there in the right order, and there's no bits of it missing, it's fine, it'll work fine. So, we want to use the forged iron as the ingredient. So again, we should use the other files, either the items or the blocks, wherever it's going to be, to find the correct term for the item we want to use. So in this case, we want forged iron. So again, we're going to go Control F, find, and search for forged iron and see. There we go, forged iron. There's the result. I'm going to copy that back to recipes. We're going to simply exchange these short metal pipes for the forged iron. So as you can see, it's coming on quite nicely. Now the last thing, this is probably the most tricky bit. It's not difficult, it's just annoying. It might take you 1 or 2 tries to get it right. Is the grid reference number. Okay? This refers to the crafting window. Okay, it's a 25 block grid of 5x5, and these are coordinates for each of those 25 blocks in the window. So the 0, 0 coordinate is the very central one, and all the others refer to the ones sort of around it. This is quite difficult to just work out on the fly, so I always keep a picture to help me. So this is just a picture I made and just typed in the coordinates just as a reference. As you can see, we've got 0, 0 in the middle, and then as we go down, you can see it goes into positive numbers, and if you go up, it goes into negative numbers. Go to the right, it goes positive for the first number. Left, it goes negative. It's weird. They're getting rid of it in Alpha 13, so it should be a lot better. So let's, for example, say we want to make the locker in these 6 squares in the bottom right corner. So we would want a forged iron in 1, 0 and 2, 0, 1, 1 and 2, 1, and 1, 2 and 2, 2. If we go back to the recipes XML, we've got to change these coordinates to the correct ones. Okay, so just double check. 1, 0 and 2, 0. Pop those in. You can see if you were doing a lot of these, it'd be quite time consuming. 1, 1 and 2, 1. And 1, 2 and 2, 2. 2 and 2, 2. Okay, so that is the custom recipe for lockers. So if we go into the game now, that recipe will be there. But for the time being, I won't do it. I'll show it you at the end. Show it you it working. I'll just bring you this picture back up one more time. If we were to say duplicate a recipe, by that I mean use the same combination of materials and coordinates that another block or item uses, then you'll get a clash. This won't do anything to your game, it'll still run fine. All you'll find is that when you come to craft one of the 2 items, both will appear in your search bar at the side, and it will say you can craft both, but in actual fact, it will craft only one of them. So, say we had the same recipe for arrow and campfire. If you clicked arrow, it would make you an arrow. If you clicked on campfire and used the same materials in the same configuration, it would make an arrow. So, it doesn't do anything to your game, just watch out for that, make sure you don't duplicate any recipes. But other than that it's very simple. Just got to use your imagination and get a fair and reasonable set of parameters for each thing that you want to make, so you're not, making the blocks too cheaply or making them prohibitively expensive to make. So the next thing I want to show you is how to add the recipes and custom items from my mod pack. So if I grab an example, what should we use? We'll use the granite floor as an example because someone messaged me having a problem with that. Now there are a lot of blocks in here, okay, but it's literally just a cut and paste operation, okay. So all you do is take, this first section is to be pasted into the blocks XML. This is the code for the actual custom granite blocks that I made. Scroll all the way down to 26 on. To the very last one. You simply want to copy those to our items. And again, like the recipes, we want to go to the very bottom. And then paste them in. Before you do so, you want to check for these, the item ID. They have to be unique for every item. So if you already have other mods put in, the numbers may not align, so you may get some conflict. So we actually want to be in the blocks one. So we're adding the granite blocks. Okay, as you can see, the block ID, the very last block ID we have is 1440. If we go down and paste in the code, scroll up to 1440, where we started. As you can see, these blocks have an ID number further on, so you won't run into any problems there. As before, make sure the very last line of code is this. It always has to be at the bottom. Never just paste things onto the end of the file. This has to close all of the blocks or all of the items to ensure the file works properly. So if we go back to the package, can then do exactly the same thing for the recipes. Just scroll down, grab them all. Copy, go to our recipes XML, and again, into the bottom, but make sure you leave this last line of code so it stays at the bottom. And that's literally it. So you want to make sure you save the files before we close them. And then we can back out of Notepad. So we've been editing that in the game file itself. So now if we enter the game, it should all work fine. So let's do that and see what happens. So when we get into the game, I'll be able to show you that all the granite blocks should be there. All of the granite recipes should be there. And the lockers that we did first. We should have a custom recipe for those. And it should be the 6 pieces of iron in the corner. Okay, so there's typically, if you're going to get an error, it's going to pop up in one of 4 places. And it'll always look the same. It'll be a string of red cycling code that will drop down from the top of the screen. Looks scary, but all you do is Control-Alt-Delete and close your game if that's the case. And then you can either, put the backup you made back into the file, or verify the game cache, and that'll sort you right out. So this, as we came into the game, if there's a problem with the blocks, there's something in there, it can break there, but most of the time it'll break in game if it's going to. Quite often, if you're going to add mods, it's always a good idea to start a new game. You don't always have to. There can be conflicts if you have things that have changed in the code, the original developer's code, which is quite often. With this pack, it shouldn't matter, but there will be some that I put out which I will be messing around with the developer's code rather than just adding more. So that's more likely to cause problems. We press anything. Start a new game. The next place you're likely to get a problem is on the loading screen in between here and entering the game. Again, it'll just be the same string of red writing. It quite often says things like null reference or reference to an object not set. And all that's saying is that somewhere there's a break in the code. That it's unable to read the entire XML file because one portion of it isn't properly linked to another portion. So it's usually things like you haven't got the ID numbers right, you haven't got the like the name of the items correct or something like that. As you can see, we've come into the game fine. It can crash can give you the errors on startup as well. Again, we've had no problems. So if we go into the creative menu and search for the lockers that we made originally, as you can see, these are available in the game. Okay, we haven't actually added that as a block, it was already there. So if we grab ourselves some forged iron and look for lockers, you can see there's now a recipe for it. And it's glowing yellow, which means we can make it. And it's our forged iron. 6 in the bottom right hand corner, exactly like you said. It's got the icon and everything in place. And it works as a block. Perfectly fine. So the other thing we did was we added the granite pack. Spell it correctly, so here's all the granite blocks. So that's pretty much it. It's very simple. It's just being careful with your cut and paste, making sure you're putting it in the right places. Again, make sure your capitals in your names are correct. Make sure your item IDs don't conflict. Other than that, you shouldn't have any problems. So, thanks for watching. I hope this helps you out if you are having difficulties, or if you were a bit wary about messing with files. It should put you at ease. If you have any comments or any issues or anything, drop me a comment and I'll try my best to help you out. Like, subscribe for more. If you like this sort of video, I could in the future perhaps do some more, going more in depth about how to, say, add things to the loot tables, get rid of crafting experience, maybe demonstrate how I go about making a custom block, something like that. If any of that interests you, again, drop a comment down below. Other than that, like, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.